your parties. Dropping the hit, got me shararti. Coming to see like a tsunami.
Yes, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Haraami United. Afzal, another busy week at Manchester United since our last video.
Yeah, it's all kicking off this week, isn't it?
Yeah, man, Manchester United. There's no, there's never no let up on
Keeping us entertained.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna try and do it in reverse order. Let's start with yesterday's results. Viktoria Plzen 1, Manchester United 2. Your thoughts on the game?
I was driving home for the first half, so I missed the first half, caught the second half, and oh my days, what? I don't know what to say.
Well, you're lucky. I think you missed the first half because the first half was worse than the second half.
Well, by the sounds of the WhatsApp chat, you boys were falling asleep, and I know Basim wasn't even watching at one point.
I don't think he realised. I mean, yeah, there's some people, and I don't get this. And please, anybody who's watching this and who does do it, please explain to me this. Some people were saying they actually switched off. They're not even watching it no more. They're going to do something else. I've not there yet.
Off in the case of like it's been so boring. I've fallen asleep before.
I know.
I've not physically changed the channel.
Yeah. I mean, literally, people like switching off or moving. Watching something else. And then they're the ones who had the biggest voice about what things are happening as well, and in terms of the game and the way the game's been played.
Even though they didn't watch it because they changed the channel.
But yeah, it's just like crazy. So yeah, anybody please explain to me. I get it can be boring, but surely you watch the game.
One thing that came to me with this game is one thing I'm really, really happy with is that Ruben Amorim is sticking to his guns. He's sticking to his formation, and it's kind of coming across as though it's my way or no way, which I do like. That might bite us in the arse in 2-3 years' time when he inevitably gets sacked. And then, like you said, we have to bring in a manager that plays a 3 at the back and blah, blah, blah. But he's sticking to it, and it's exposing these players a lot. It's showing the quality in this team, and it's showing them up. Whether is it their individual qualities? Is it the fact that they're just not used to the system? We don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know if we've got good players anymore because everything's been shit for the last how many years.
Yeah, I think I was in the spaces this week, the last couple of days. Unusual, but yeah, with all the things going on, it's always interesting to read and hear what people's views are. But yeah, I mentioned in there, if it was a collective group that were performing and there was 1 or 2 players who aren't performing, then I'd say, you know what, yeah, that player or this player. But even as a collective, because we're not performing as a collective, it's so hard to understand which players aren't performing. Yes, you can say all of them.
Nobody's doing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, I mean, Ahmad's on form. Mazraoui, that's it.
The form players, they're the best of a bad bunch as such. But yeah, I mean, you even have to look at Onana. I mean, yesterday's game. I mean, before the Forest game, I don't think this season, maybe once, nothing that comes of note that he might have messed up. But that one error against Nottingham Forest, where he's obviously let the Morgan Gibbs White goal in. Even in that game, the next pass that he had, he passed it to one of the Forest players. Yesterday, he passed it to obviously a Viktoria Plzen player, and on the back of that, they scored. So it wasn't like they cut us open, with great play or something of that nature. It was all our own doing. So we are fragile mentally. I mean, bearing in mind, let's not forget, this is a guy who I think when he was at Inter Milan, they've done quite well in the league, but reached the Champions League final against City.
That's what I mean. He reached the Champions League final, so he's not a bad goalkeeper.
No.
Like, he can't be. He was, apart from Lukaku being the 12th man for Man City half the time, and being the extra centre-back every time he blocked a shot in that final. Do you know what I mean? Inter could have stolen that.
Yeah, well, stolen.
I wish they did, because it would have stopped the treble.
Yeah, they were doing quite well.
He had a great game.
But yeah, it's just crazy to think, he's been doing that. and then we buy him, and then straight away he struggles. Then back end of last season and the beginning of this season, he's doing quite well. Then against, like I said, Forest. So there is some mentality issues, but you say mentality, these guys are doing well elsewhere. They're, like I said, they're reaching finals. Some people are winning, trophies and things like that from their own leagues.
David De Gea saving penalties nowadays.
Yeah, we bring them in. By all means, David De Gea. I think Fiorentina in and around the top.
He
Obviously they
saved 2
are.
penalties in one game.
Yeah, but just as a team as well, they're around the
Yeah.
top. I mean, we talked about Scott McTominay leaving as well. He's again, last time I checked Serie A, he was top with Napoli, or he might be second now behind Atalanta. There's a lot of players that leave here who get criticised, but they do well. So yeah, I mean, yesterday's game, it's a bit of a
Just to throw another player into that argument, Diogo Dalot, when he went to AC Milan, did well on loan.
yeah.
Come back. Could argue he's been our most consistent player in some respects, but his levels haven't been overly impressive.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. It's just like, everybody just seems to have, just goes shit for some reason. I mean, even Amarim, look, let's not talk about, it's his first game. He's come to Manchester United within the first couple of league games. He lost his first game over a year and all this, that, and the other. Because let's be honest, when he was at Sporting, it took him a bit of, a year or so to get that club and team performing the way he is. So you can't hold that against him. But just the way he looks, I mean, on the side, in the the dugout area, and the things that he's saying, it's going to keep getting like this, it's going to keep getting worse, and all this kind of thing. And I know our own manager's saying it, people holding on to that. But I would rather, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd
it's
rather
like
fans
the
them.
hardcore Amarin in brigade are now saying, "Oh well, he said that this storm would come."
Yeah, and
That's like me saying, "I'm going to lose some money this month." Like,
yeah, you look as fans, you should know that already. You know it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? You can't. Amrim's job should be. You know what? Yeah, I know it's difficult, but you know what? We're going to turn it. We're going to do it. We are going to do it. Like, do you know what I mean? But unfortunately, he's having to say that we're going to play shit, and there's going to be more, rocky roads ahead. And to me, when your manager says that, I mean, if Eric Ten Hag was saying that, he'd get criticised. But when he was saying, oh no, we're doing well, he was getting criticised for that as well. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just hoping with Amarim, because you are hearing things, people are, getting on his back as well. But I just really hope to God that they don't. But we're talking about players. Another guy who started yesterday, and I think it's been quite rumored that he will get sold, is Marcus Rashford for 40 million. Would you take 40 million for him?
I mean, recent performances. I don't think we get any more than that. I think 50 is the max we'd get. So 40, yeah, I'd snap the hands off. But my issue with this is, look, the Rashford slander, the Rashford agenda, I don't agree with that at all. Whatever he does in his personal life, I couldn't give a toss. I don't care what time. If he's bagging 6 goals a game, but he's out till 6 o'clock every morning and turning up late, I don't care. It's just, for some reason, he's in shit form. He looks like he's mentally checked out. And then all this stuff comes up. Some people rightly said in that space the other day that he seems to perform every time a contract renewals up, which may or may not be coincidental.
I don't believe that one.
I don't know.
No, well, like I said, I'm waiting for somebody to come back to me on that one. Because yes, his last contract, I get it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can see it with that. I can see it with his first or second pro contract, but he was just generally impressing as a youngster. So
I mean, like I said, if anybody's played the game at a half decent level, yeah, you can't turn it on and off like that. And more than anything else, yeah, why would he perform just before a contract? Why would he not continue to perform all the time? Why do you think he wants to sit there and be criticised?
I said it in the WhatsApp group a few weeks ago, and I said, look, if I was Rashford, I would go, because this fan base is the most unrelenting, spoiled, and ungrateful fan base in the world. People might take issue with that, but look at how they treat our players.
Yeah,
He could score a hat trick. Oh, but he should have scored 5. So you know what, Marcus? For your own sanity, for your own career, go somewhere where the spotlight's not as hot. Do you know what I mean? Go and relax. You know, you played with a broken back for this football club. No one should ever forget that. And I think fans are too quick to forget that. And what fans do then is, oh, but Ollie this, Ollie that, you know, because it happened then. Do you not think the player has a choice to, like, you know,
and this is for me
whether
as
or
well.
not he plays?
Yeah, and this is what I was gonna say. So for me, if he doesn't, you know, I hear people saying, you know, I would give anything to play for this club, and you know, he's not a fan of this club, and all this. I'm thinking, mate, he's not. He's. I think he started with the club when he was about 6. You know, he's obviously supported them as well. You know, there's no way he does not support or want the club to do well. Like I said, if he was that detached from the club, why not then just fake an injury? You
Yeah,
know,
fake an injury, sit
what?
your contract out, leave for free. You know? Have I just lost you there? Okay, I think we've lost Hops. Give me 1 second.
Is
You
it me?
froze? Oh no, you're back.
Is it me, Afsal?
Yeah, you were frozen for a bit. You said, why not fake an injury? That was the last thing I heard.
Yeah. Why not fake an injury?
Yeah. You could do. Fake an injury, sit the contract out, leave for free.
You
So,
know,
and Paul Pogba did that.
you
Allegedly.
know, even Jadon Sancho went off to the mountains for how long, and then you know he could easily turn around and say, you know, mentally, you know, I'm not feeling, but you know, he at least whatever else happens, whether he performs or not, he turns up each week, takes a battering from our fans. Like says, I refuse to believe that he tries to perform bad or he doesn't try to perform. Is he performing? No. Should he leave? I wouldn't want him to leave if the club's doing well, because I know he could be a great asset. But should he leave and follow the footsteps of somebody like Scott McTominay? Yes. You know,
Can
because
we
he's a
swap him for
recent
Victor
example.
Osimhen?
Mate, we can do.
Is that
Do
an
you know what I mean?
option?
I can't see how any good's going to come from that, or you know whether he'll do any well out of that either. You know, I'm not too sure. But yeah, can you hear me, Afsal?
Yeah, I got you. Right, I got a question for you on the
Yeah,
Rashford thing. Do you
go on then.
actually think he does go?
In the summer.
Yeah. Do you think he's actually, this is it now, he's actually going to go? Because we've had this story, what, for the last 4 or 5 years?
You know what, Afsal? Let me answer that in a minute. And pick me up on it. I think you'll know what I'm talking about. Obviously, with things may change in the summer. So ask me the question then, because you know I think you know we'll lead into that. But yeah, 40 million for Rashford because of PSR, for whatever other things, you know, 40, 50 million. I think we both agree that, you know what, just on his career, if you just look at getting away from this club and starting, you know, he's 27 now, he should be in his prime, he should be going places and doing things where he should be able to enjoy his football again, because at the present moment in time he doesn't look like he's going to. But that moves me on to we you know, we've been talking about it for a very long time about the culture at the club, you know, the way things are happening. I think on the back of, you know, the sacking of Dan Ashworth, the 66
Are you back?
ticket rises. Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. £66 ticket rises.
66 pound ticket rises. All these other things that are happening. Sir Jim Ratcliffe seems to be getting criticised quite a lot. I mean, there's people I've seen Jamie Carragher on an article today. I think there was even Sam Allardyce. There's other people in the media as well. But I think more than anything, our fans know as well are
Yeah.
on his back.
And you know what? Rightfully so, because look, no secret, we didn't want him. We wanted a full sale. Yeah, you could say we wanted the other guy, but the motivation behind that was full sale. Now, we've tried to be fair since he's come in. We've tried to, applaud the positives, and of course, we're going to critique and pick apart the negatives. So when he got Dan Ashworth, I was like, you know what? I'm not overly sold on it. But he's got a director of football. He's got he put in place a structure. I wasn't necessarily sold on what he did with Ten Hag. And I blame Ten Hag for that because I personally think he should have walked. Like, why is he going to stay with this shit show? But fair play, he chose to. And, then you look at, like you said, the ticket prices, the Fergie situation, the Busby situation that apparently nearly happened, that Fergie had to stop happening.
Yeah, just for people who don't know that, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his team were going to cut the allocation and the tickets and the seating for the family members of the Busby babes.
The
obviously they've
staff
been there for a long time.
redundancies, the cancellation of a Christmas party and relegating it down to gift vouchers, and all these things that I don't celebrate Christmas. You're Sikh. You celebrate Christmas?
Mate, I love a turkey.
No, but
Kids
do you
and that, yeah,
celebrate
we do.
Christmas like as?
I don't go to church,
No, that's what I mean.
but
Like,
yeah, we do the presents and things like that for the kids. Yeah.
Like, but things like that are so important for morale.
Yeah,
Especially
it's the intangibles, isn't it?
In such an uncertain time in the football club. That would have done wonders.
Yeah, I think
to cut what was it? I think someone worked it out. And it's like 46 grand.
I think I worked around about, depending on what it is, around about 68, 40 grand, somewhere like that.
Like,
70 to 40
that's
grand.
pocket change, man.
And bearing in mind these guys still get paid, when they get chauffeured around, the club pays for it all. And more than anything, they make stupid signings such as Dan Ashworth. That they paid 2, 3, 5 million. I think it was that they paid Newcastle for him, and then they sack him. Which actually
after
has
one
to
transfer window, which they
after
haven't
5
actually
months.
credited. If you look back at it, what's the dude from PSG? Blanc.
The director of football.
No, Jean-Claude Blanc. They credited him.
Oh, Jean-Claude Blanc, yeah.
With getting the Ugarte deal done. They credited Barada with getting the Euro deal done. Xerxes happened before Ashworth even officially signed. So in a way, they credited him with absolutely nothing. He himself, Dan Ashworth and Barada, both admitted the extension of Ten Hag was done prior to us arriving. Yet now it's all Dan Ashworth's fault. It's
this is part of it,
strange.
isn't it? All this it was she behind the stabbing each other in the back almost, I would like to say. And like you talking about morale, you read reports that people are saying at the club, well, if they can get rid of Dan Ashworth, who am I? Do you know what I mean? So they're literally having to look over the back all the time.
If they can get rid of Fergie, who are you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so and again, we love this phrase that they use, the ruthless. How ruthless he is, and some reason people think that's a positive thing.
I mean, if done in the right ways. So I'm going to throw back to Todd Bowley at Chelsea here. Signed Keenan Dewsbury-Hall from Leicester.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's reports he's no longer needed and he will be shipped out in January.
But
he's bought him in. He's not fit into the team.
So
he's going to get rid of him.
Look, I think with transfers and players and things like that, I mean, it is a little bit different because there's so many things that have to work out. Do you know what I mean? For the player's profile, how they're playing, but sometimes
are they going to mesh like with the other 10?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to use Dan Ashworth because obviously that's the most relevant point here. It was things like he's not a data guy. Well, people knew he wasn't a data guy.
But he's got this big database of apparently wonder kids in football.
Yeah, he was selecting managers like potential managers like Gareth Southgate, Potter, basically Premier League proven managers. But then how he's operated, operated more like in the English style. He's been FA, basically a lot of the things that have been accused of him, they should have done a better job of understanding who he was and what he does.
Basic due diligence, innit?
Yeah. So then when you're saying you're ruthless, well, you should have you should have planned better to begin with. It's not called ruthlessness. It's just called fucking stupidness. Do you know what I mean? And yes, okay, you know,
I was going to say
you
clueless, but okay.
well, yeah, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And now they've gone away with his job, and now they're saying they probably won't even replace him. It's going to be Jason Wilcox and Barada who will do his job, and then Vivell will do recruitment and all these other kind of things as well. So again, but the thing is, if it was a whole new group that would come in and never managed a sports team, and they were doing this, I get it. Do you know what I mean?
Or they'd never
Because
worked like these individuals, Wilcox, Barada, Vival, Datanash, they've never worked together as a unit.
yeah, they
Maybe
haven't,
they
but
needed time.
yeah, but the people who put them in place have got two other clubs. The INEOS group, they've got two other clubs. If you read their statement, when they bought OGC Nice, which now apparently they only own 17%.
Yeah, then 83% stood for a blind trust, which is out of Monaco, so there's no chance you're finding out who owns that, which is a bit odd. And Harps has crashed again.
I think
But yeah,
is
oh no, you're back.
is
You're back.
is it thingy StreamYard that playing up?
I don't know, but you keep freezing randomly.
Oh, do I? Okay, then
Yeah. It's fine. It's workable.
But yeah, it's where was I? Yeah, they only own 17% of the club for some reason now, OGC Nice, and INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe has no say at the club, which was hilarious. And they've got this blind committee who make these decisions. Yeah,
Yeah, that's odd.
I think we kind of know what kind of guy this guy is, Jim Ratcliffe. As I said, he was criticizing, well, not criticizing. He was saying that with the ticket prices rise, people who can afford it should pay for it, whereas he doesn't pay any tax because now he lives in Monaco, so he can afford to pay the tax here, but he chose not to as well. So it's quite funny. But on the back of that, I think there's obviously an article that came out. Was it Tuesday?
Wednesday?
By
Mike Keegan.
I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, Mike Keegan won.
Maybe Wednesday. I don't know.
Mail.
Tuesday or Wednesday, one of them. The 3-step plan or whatever it was called. That's it. When did it
My
come
apologies,
out?
man. It's obviously my broadband is playing up.
No, you're still there. You're still there.
Man.
It came out on the 11th of December. So when's
11th
that?
of
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. I think it was updated on the 11th of December. Was it? No. Yeah. I think it was the 11th of December. So Wednesday.
Okay, Harps has just disappeared again. But yeah, I'll keep it rolling. The article he's actually referring to was Mike Keegan through the Mail Online. And he's back. Give me 2 seconds. I'll add him in.
Yeah, man.
Yo.
Seems like my broadband or something like that's playing. My apologies. Yeah,
Nah,
so
you're good.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to try and read the article if we can try and go through it. If it doesn't, obviously my connection keeps pausing here. Yeah, I think Mail Online. Let's read it. So the title reads "Revealed" because I've not been. Nobody else has really reported it elsewhere, so I've not seen it. So obviously, a lot of people are dismissing it, which is fine.
That's
And
up to them.
and we'll comment on it. I'll ask some questions to you about this as well. But yeah, I mean, the article revealed Qatar's Project Ruby plans to revolutionise Man United in just 3 days that Glazers turned down, and why Sheikh Jassim can still offer stumbling INEOS an exit route. Yeah, so it goes to say in the 1980s quiz show, Bullseye contestants would often fall at the final hurdle. I don't know whether you ever watched that. It was quite a good show, that was.
Yeah, it was on Challenge on the daytime TV.
It was, it used to be on ITV. Yeah, it used to be on ITV when we used to watch it. So yeah. So amid sympathetic groans from the audience, a giant dartball would then slowly revolve to reveal big prize they had agonizingly missed out on. Often it was a shiny new speedboat or some other distant treasure. Look at what you could have won, host Jim Bowen declare from behind jam jar lenses. And I think he kind of says, for Manchester United supporters, it follows something quite similar, as what could have been.
Yeah.
Mm,
In
yeah,
the go on.
gone. Yeah. So it says in February last year, Mail Sport broke the bombshell story that Qatari Group was to enter the race to buy Britain's biggest football club. They did not win the race. Their offer for full control was shunned by the Glazer family in favour of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's and his own revised offer to take quarter stake. In real terms, Ratcliffe had offered far less in total, 1.25 billion to 4.7 billion. But crucially, for the Americans, his stake had valued the totality of United as slightly more. So basically, saying yes, he paid less, but he's valued
He valued
over what
500 million quid, did he?
something like that. But
Yeah.
in real terms, in actually hard cash, he only paid 1.25 billion. So yeah, the deal was done, and Ratcliffe, a lifelong fan, which we question, was affected because he was a Chelsea fan. He's got a season ticket there still, and all these other things. So even some fans online question whether he's an actual fan. But yeah, was effectively given the keys, taking control of all operations. The Americans quietly trousered the cash, retreated from the limelight, and no doubt look forward to benefiting from success built on the back of others' graft. But they did not. However, all live happily ever after. Almost 12 months on, the new United lurches from one PR disaster to another under Ratcliffe and INEOS lieutenants. Ahead of this weekend's derby at City, they find themselves in a lowly 13th place after 15 games. They are 16 points behind Liverpool, who spanked them 3-0 at Old Trafford. So that's the other thing we have to remember, that we've never been this low under the Glazer group before INEOS came in. You know,
No,
um,
true.
so off the field, the savage regime of cost cutting, seen 250 redundancies, tickets price hike to £66 for kids and pensioners, and a lauded new sporting director ended up spending more time on gardening leave than in his job. Fans have already protested outside Old Trafford in a honeymoon period so short it would make Liz Truss wince. Yeah, you may think that those involved in Qatar's failed bid are taking all this in, reaching for the popcorn and reflecting with some relief on the bullet dodged. You would only be half right. So there's some hope in there. So
Mm.
yes, the situation is being monitored closely, but there is no gloating here in Doha, only deep sadness and regret over what might have been. It was Mail Sport can reveal, not meant to be like this. Plans for a rebirth of Manchester United, fueled by vast wealth and some of the finest sporting and finance brains on the planet, had already been carefully drafted. The strategy for Project Ruby, as they named it, went like this. So day one, announced the takeover. So that's what
Yeah.
would have happened.
Great day one, that.
Day two announced that all debt has been removed, that the club has been taken off the New York Stock Exchange, and that is no longer answerable to faraway stakeholders. So I'm going to assume here, basically, what that means is all would have been agreed with all the shareholders anyway, because for the full sale,
Yeah.
they would have bought their shares, so they didn't have to keep it on the stock exchange. So that would have been taken off.
Company would have gone private again.
Yep. So I don't think it literally means in one day that would have happened, but I think he's trying
No,
to
it's
paint a
well. This is
picture.
what people are. This is where people online and on Twitter read. How can he do that in one day? Like, no, use your
Yeah,
head. That would have been planned ahead of time, but the
yeah,
announcements would have been staggered in such a way to ride the momentum.
yeah. So day one, so day two, it would have been, yeah, we're gonna take it off the club, off the stock exchange. So however long that takes, it would have taken. But yeah, so this is the this is the next one then. So day three, announced fully funded plans for new stadium. As simple as that. 3 days to change the club's history in one quick movement. The life-sucking debt burden on United proud shoulders, a legacy of leverage takeover that is estimated to have cost the club close to 1 billion to service, lifted in a heartbeat. A clean break. As for the stadium, there would have been no attempt to grab any money from the taxpayer or confusion over whether this would be a refurbishment or a rebuild. The funds were in place to build one of the biggest and best venues on the planet. I don't get, again, listening to spaces and reading and tweets and what people are saying. People are making it sound as
People
though
read this as like, oh, they're gonna build a stadium in a week.
6 months,
Use your head.
you know, um,
Just
bit
goes to show how
crazy.
thick people are. It really shows people up, and You're frozen again, but I'm going to carry on. So yeah, under INEOS, a decision on the next steps has been delayed to next summer with the task force, including the likes of Gary Neville, Andy Burnham, Lord Seb Cole, who I think was instrumental in the Olympics or something like that. And that was where basically they, that's where they've been talking to the fans, asking for recommendations, or basic, there was that thing of, do you want a new ground? Do you want a refurbished ground? Or basically, do you want us to knock down Old Trafford and do it again? Harps will be back shortly. I'm just going to carry on until he gets here. And then obviously this whole thing about Jim wanted government funding. Was it like Project Level Up, I think the government call it? He wanted government funding to basically pay towards that. So, he wanted essentially taxpayer money, our money, to pay towards this new stadium, even though the guy's a flipping billionaire. Bring Harps back in. I have carried on. So I'm just going to keep carrying on. And then this whole thing, like I said, funding over taxpayers, that's seems to have proved a bit of a stumbling block. I personally think the government wouldn't have approved it just because it sets a dangerous precedent. If you give Man United the money to go build a new stadium, then what's stopping Liverpool from asking? What's stopping Chelsea? All the clubs up and down the pyramid, they can all ask. So there is that. Under Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani, the figurehead of the Qatari bid, this would have been a more straightforward process. And then I'm not sure what this word is. Is it bitchy? The B asterisks, what the bitchy thing maybe?
Yeah, I didn't. I was trying to work that out. I didn't know what it was.
The
bitchy thing would have been fully in motion.
The bloody thing would have been
bloody
in full
thing.
motion.
Yeah. Bloody.
Why have you started that out?
BOODY.
Yeah. Oh. Woke shit in it. Said one senior advisor to the group, a stadium for a football club paid for by the football club and nobody else. And as for the staff Ratcliffe is firing, we would have been hiring. Now, from that, again, people will be like, oh yeah, but it's easy to say that. No, they were going to build a bigger ground. Ergo, we're going to need more staff. We need more people in the megastore, more people on turnstiles, more people in the little concessions bits. So technically, you create more jobs in the local area. So yeah, you may have let some people go, but on a net of staff, you'll be positive rather than negative. Okay, so that's that. Populous, the designers responsible for many of the venues at the 2020 World Cup, 2022 World Cup, had already drawn up plans which were shared with bidders for Man United. That's news. I didn't know that had been done. So fair enough, fair play to them. It can now be disclosed that an adaptable stadium, I don't know what that means. Is that like multifunctional? Like
which bit? Sorry.
It can now be disclosed that an adaptable stadium was being seriously considered with a capacity between 90 and 100,000. What's adaptable? Is that like how Spurs have theirs, where you can have the NFL and the boxing and all this stuff? Has he gone again? Yeah, he might have gone again, so I'll carry on waffling. But yeah, I read adaptable as, it's going to be multifunctional, I'll call it, because that's the easiest way I can think of around it. Where Saturday you got United versus City, Sunday night you got the AJ fight, once they sort everything out. And, that's how you're going to ultimately as well boost revenues for the club. And it goes on to say, using ultra-modern technology, that capacity could be lowered to 60,000 and 45,000 should it be deemed necessary. Such a move could have well seen United's women's team, still in exile down the road in Lee, finally come home. The reference there is obviously well known. The most of United women's team will be. Harps has just texted me. I don't think he's going to be able to come back on, but we're going to keep it moving. We'll go through this article and we'll wrap it up. So most of United's women's team's games are down the road in Lee, in the middle of nowhere. So fans, players, everyone treks all the way out of the way. Let's not also forget the United women's team got a brand new training facility extension thing done. And then they got told the men will be using this and you will be going to St. George's Park. Look, St. George's Park is a great facility run by the FA, used for England, but we're in Manchester. Why are you sending the women an hour and a half, 2 hours? I don't know how far the drive is, but it's in the Midlands somewhere. I think it's in Burton. Why are you sending them all the way down the country just for that? Like that to me shouldn't be on. All because of this whole thing of, oh, you know, the men need it now. And then Jim's done various interviews where, in not so many words, he said that they don't need, basically, he's not really bothered about the women's team right now. He's more focused on the men's team. Fair enough. Men's team brings in more commercial revenue, but even that's shit at the minute, so I don't really see how that's going. Okay. So we get that. Yeah, so the stadium was a huge element, the advisor added. It was acknowledged that the main revenue driver was the TV deal, followed by the stadium, and there was a separate fund earmarked for the women's team. So you can imagine it would have been X is going, like, I don't know, let's say you have a transfer budget of 200 million, 180 millions for the men's team, 20 million, you know, like everything seems to have been planned out in its totality. But again, it's easy to say that. Whether or not it would have happened, we don't know. We can only hope. But again, looking at what Ratcliffe has said in the press, this immediately sounds a lot more positive. Next bit. Leading commercial property company JLL, based in Manchester City Centre, had already been signed up to work on the project. No idea who they are. Might have to look into them. Populous would have been tasked with creating something breathtaking, respecting the sacred traditions of Old Trafford, while pushing the boundaries of conventional design. There were no plans to raise ticket prices, so I'm guessing the £66 thing wouldn't have happened under the Qataris. Cheap little dig there, but why not? There were, however, plans to bring fans onto the board and set up a fund to give supporters a stake in the club. So fan ownership, which was, I think, something Jim promised. And he also promised communication and all that sort of stuff, and community. Don't know how you build a community by doubling the price of kids' tickets, but again, it is what it is. And then, yeah, so we weren't looking to lay people like this. Again, this is from the insider source that Keegan's got. We weren't looking to lay people off. We were looking to invest, another insider explained. So, yeah, you're not, you know, the more you invest, the more you invest in the training ground, the more you invest in the stadium, you're going to need more workers, you're going to create more jobs. It's that simple. Next paragraph. What of the football? The Qataris had planned to utilise the knowledge they had learned, at times painfully during their time at PSG. While there have been no shortage of issues with the French club, it is worth noting that Qatar Sports Investment, QSI, paid €70 million, 57.6 million, to take control in 2011. Last December, US investment group Arctos took a stake which saw the same club value rocket to the same club valued at €4.25 billion. That in itself is no failure. Obviously, look what they've done at PSG. Won the league, God knows how many years on the bounce. Fair enough, they're not won the Champions League, but Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, you know, they've had the Galacticos, the Jordan deal, the new stadium, the new training facility they built, and I believe they're also looking at a new stadium as well. So, you know, they've proved they're willing, you know, they proved they can invest. So that's worth noting. There was an acknowledgement that local expertise would be needed, and the list, which can be revealed for the first time, was impressive. Far from being given the sack, Sir Alex Ferguson was to be cherished and invited onto an advisory board. So, yeah, they would have kept Fergie around rather than distance themselves and cut ties. Others include Class of 92 members David Beckham and Gary Neville. Beckham, as we know, an ambassador for Qatar and Qatar Airways. Neville just seems to have his finger in all sorts of pies because he's also on the stadium task force. So I don't know how that works, but I guess it's mainly because he's probably clued up on all the land in Manchester and knows what's what. In 2010, perhaps seeing the iceberg ahead and concerned by the amount of debt the Glazers had piled on, a group of wealthy fans attempted to oust them, known as the Red Knights. Again, another famous takeover attempt that failed. They were led by Lord Jim O'Neill, a lifelong United fan from nearby Gatley and chief economist at Goldman Sachs. Lord O'Neill had been a non-executive director at the club when the Glazers took control and sought out a group to back a takeover, so he went and tried to find his own consortium. As part of his efforts, he held meetings with the Qatar royal family and Sheikh Jassim, already chairman of Qatar Islamic Bank, which is QIB, was brought in as a known Man United supporter. While the talks came to nothing, O'Neill, a sharp operator, had impressed those in the Qatari capital. He had then been earmarked for a major role within the project. So that was back in 2010. There was rumblings, there was rumours that there was a Middle Eastern investor behind the Red Knights. Guess Keegan's just confirmed it was Sheikh Jassim. And, clearly they trusted Jim O'Neill. They wanted to keep him on board. And I think, is the article nearly finished? A long article, but we keep it moving. Sheikh Jassim would have not interfered. He wanted top people to empower them, tell them to get on with it, and those top people had been identified. So it sounds like he had a team in place. He would have just bought people. Here's your roles. See you later. I'll be here when I need to be here, kind of thing. A bit like Sheikh Mansour at Man City. That's how he's run it, and I assume how PIF will run Newcastle. Okay, so there remain scars from what was a brutal takeover process. Sheikh Jassim had desperately wanted United, according to sources close to him. In the end, no fewer than 5 formal offers were submitted. So he clearly tried everything he could have done, along with several further verbal offers as the saga lurched into the summer of 2023. Those with knowledge of the talks have disclosed that on 2 occasions, the group were informed that they were the preferred bidders and were close to a deal being struck. But that call never came. So I think in the press heard that they were the preferred bidder on 1 occasion. Keegan's now said they were told they were the preferred bidder on 2 occasions. So make of that what you will. The final formal offer from Qatar was for $5.8 billion, but in a last-ditch attempt to get the deal over the line, sources say that was verbally raised to $6.1 billion. And this is where I have an issue with people saying, he missed out by not paying another $500 million. 5.8 to 6.1, about $400 million. $300 million, right? Close enough to 500 million. So clearly he upped his bid. Clearly he knew what he wanted to do. And clearly he tried. Look, it is what it is. Jim won out in the end. When that failed to do the trick, the plug was pulled. Enough was enough. So again, they weren't going to massively overpay for something that in reality they were already overpaying for. Stadiums falling to bits. Teams in a shit place. Everything was going wrong at that point in time. And as we stand, it still is. So they'd obviously set their stall out at, we've made this 5.8. We've then upped it again. Whatever. They may have started at 4 point something and got all the way up to 6.1. They added on over $1 billion on their bids each time the bid increased. So how much more can you push a man? Yes, they've got limitless wealth and whatever, but that's not my money that I can tell them how to spend it. That's not your money that you can tell them how to spend it. They've clearly got a plan for this, and they've clearly thought, you know what? Enough is enough. These are taking the piss now, which it sounds like is what happened. And then Jim came in. So, yeah, which I've just covered off in the... I've covered off the perception of countries' unlimited wealth. Yeah, that view was that view was that they were already being asked to pay hugely over the odds at around twice United's actual share price. Well, yeah, that's true. At one point, it was around $15, $16 a share. Ultimately, they sold for $33. So, yeah, you've paid double the value there, Jim. And by the sounds of it, they wanted the Qataris to pay even more on top of that. So, again, it's overpaying on top of overpaying. And, where do you then draw the line? So, who knows? Here we go. In an ideal, this again, quote from the source. In an ideal world, then maybe we paid a little more to get it done. One source explained, but we'd already done that on a number of occasions. We felt like we were being used and the goalposts continually changed. We felt like we'd already gone above and beyond. So again, as I said, the bids went from 4.79 to 6.1 plus verbal offers. So again, they kept trying, they kept doing things, and it just never materialized. So it is what it is, They clearly had a ballpark figure in mind, and clearly the Glazers wanted more. There's also been red flags. Sheikh Jassim had been criticised for keeping a low profile. I mean, not necessarily a bad thing. If I was a billionaire, I wouldn't want people to know what money I've got, how I've got it. I like the private life. Maybe that's just what he wanted to do, but on the flip side, it seems every time Jim Ratcliffe gets a microphone, he talks. And if you ask me, from what he's talked about in the press so far, it's been abysmal. He's constantly saying the wrong things. He's saying things that 3-4 months down the line bite him in the arse, and it's like he's got no media training. So where do we go from there, So maybe a lower profile would have been better. Who knows? In criticism that stung his very existence, people were saying he's AI, he's fake, he doesn't exist. Them jokes still go on to this day. Ratcliffe even added to it himself and said no one's ever seen him. That was one of the first initial interviews Ratcliffe did when he took over. And again, this is where I was like, he's saying all the wrong things in the press. The Glazers, so nobody's ever seen him actually. The Glazers never met him. I'm not sure he exists. Where Ratcliffe's exact words, go back, find that article, it's all there. In Qatar, they failed to see the funny side. Illegal letters were sent to the US outfit Rain Group, who had also sold Chelsea and were chosen to manage the bidding process. To be fair, I can see why they got pissed off. Yeah, fair enough. It's one thing the media say it and the fans saying it, but when the guy you're competing against comes and says it, that's like a slap in the face. That's like, where's the honor there? Where's the respect? They're both billionaires, and let's be honest, when it comes to comparing bank balances, I'm sure Sheikh Jassim's is a lot bigger than Jim's. So there should have been a bit more respect there, or something of that ilk, but it didn't happen, and we keep moving forward. In a subsequent interview, and this is where it might references Joel Ravitch from Rain. Joel Ravitch was completely different to what Jim Ratcliffe said, and Ravitch said he'd met Sheikh Jassim, who was a lovely guy and a very smart guy. Now, there is an admission that perhaps Sheikh Jassim should have been more visible. I know myself and a few guys in the Discord do feel that had Jassim turned up on the day that they had their initial visit to Old Trafford, it probably changes the game. Or had they been seen in, when people were seeing people in London or whatever, and New York, like maybe that changes things. Who knows? So Ratcliffe turned up to the training centre when it was there to be shown around, one advisor recalled. The man of the people, front and centre, having his picture taken. At that stage, people were asking where Jassim was, but that was not his style. So it's like Ratcliffe wanted the PR, Ratcliffe wanted the photo op. But again, if you compare that to what we're seeing at Man United now, all the positives, Ratcliffe wants to take the credit for. All the negatives, it's, that was Dan Asher's fault. Oh, but that was, that was that person. That was that person. We didn't sign that person. That director of football signed that person, even though, the backtracking and the facts don't add up. Okay, we're nearly at the end, so I'm going to whiz through this. So it's not in the Qatari nature. We do the deal and then we go big. So basically, we do the deal and then we go get big. He was never going to take part in a beauty parade. He's a very modest businessman. He's discreet. Perhaps he should have swallowed his pride and paid extra, but would it where would it have ended? They were already offering too much. Yeah, so exactly, where does the overpaying end? And that could have been, if you overpaid for the club, then people are saying, right, this player was 60 million, now we want 100, and it could have snowballed into that. We don't know. Overpaying's never good. We've overpaid on plenty of transfers over the years, so it is what it is, and we know the effects of that. We overpaid on the likes of Anthony, and fans still cry about it to this day. We're never going to see that money back. We've just got to cut our losses and leave him now. But yeah, they wanted to sort of handle this very discreetly, very privately, and it got turned into a public roadshow by the Glazers and Jim. And they played up to it. Unfortunately, Jassim didn't. Which then you then look at the side of this whole thing of this line here. We do the deal and then we go big. So we do the deal privately and then we go big, which is Project Ruby, day 1, announce this, day 2, announce this, day 3, announce this. I guess that's what that is trying to say. So that's that side of it. Yeah. One of the annoying things was that the bids were being compared as pairs and pairs, but they were two completely different proposals. One would have seen things go very differently. I think that's basically saying that people were looking at the bids as though they were the same thing. However, they were two completely different proposals. As we know from their initial statements, Jim Ratcliffe never expressed a view to full ownership. He still hasn't to this day. Whereas Jassim wanted full ownership, no debt, and pledged a new stadium. That was in their mandate from day 1. Jim's was, he was interested. He wanted to buy a stake in the club or a controlling stake. He got that with Sporting Control, whatever the hell that means. And now, according to this article, he's got even more control than Sporting Control, and the Glazers have taken a back seat, and Ratcliffe's taking all the flack, and they're sat in LA or Florida, wherever, Miami, Florida, wherever it is, counting all their money. So yeah, the bids were being looked at exactly the same I think that means in the public eye, when in reality, one was 100% takeover, one was a stake that dropped from 50% to 25 to 27 to 30, whatever it was. Yeah. None of the above will be a solace of those United fans and the large numbers of staff, that's interesting, who wanted the Sheikh Jassim bid to succeed. Perhaps, however, this is not the end of the story. Sheikh Jassim is still a rich guy, explained the advisor. He's still a United fan. He's not going to rush off and try buy another Premier League club. Someone once said that they're going to buy West Ham, they're going to buy Spurs, they're going to buy Everton. Everton today, Tom Friedkin and TFG got approval for that takeover to finally go through after God knows how long. So Everton fans, congratulations, you're finally debt-free, you got a new stadium on the way. Hope you make the best of that takeover. Spurs, there was rumours Amanda Staveley was involved. That's gone quiet. And to my knowledge, I don't think anyone's putting a bid for West Ham anytime soon. So yeah, that just tells you right there what the view on the ground is in Qatar and what Mike Keegan has managed to source in relation to, they're going to bid for other clubs. Clearly they ain't. And final paragraph, and I'm wrapping this up because I'm just on my own waffling at this point. If the opportunity to buy the whole of Manchester United arose again at some point in the future, it is hard to see there not being a level of interest. The plans are still there. Yeah, as we know, as per the original deal and the SEC filings, that 18-month clause, that 18-month claw black draft, whatever the hell that clause is, that basically stated the Glazers could shop, open the auction again. And it had to be a minimum of $33 per share. And if Ratcliffe, basically, I think if an offer came in, Ratcliffe had the opportunity to match it. And I think they would look at his more preferred or something like that. I can't remember the exact wording. I'm sure someone's going to find it and give me shit for it because they'll know exactly what it was inside and out. But yeah, 18 months time. I don't know. I think it's like June, July, August, around that time. So in the summer, if he doesn't have the 51% or the controlling stakes, then they can open up the shop again and we'll go through this whole merry-go-round again. But yeah, at that point in time, we'll see what happens. But that's it, guys. We've gone through the article. We've gone through Rashford. Unfortunately, Hops' internet cut out. It is what it is. Show must go on. We keep it rolling. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Massive thank you to everyone that, the new subscribers. Welcome and thank you. Guys, keep sharing, keep subscribing, keep liking. A lot of the Pakistan content got some really good views, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it. Seeing a different side of the country, seeing the football there, and the vlogs that me and Aki managed to get up. There is a few more of them coming out, so please check them out when they do. But yeah, let's fucking beat City on Sunday. And I'll see you guys afterwards. Thanks for watching.
The guy that turns up on your parties, dropping the heat, got me Haraami.